I was listening to Roger Federer's commencement speech at Dartmouth.
Great.
Yeah, and he asked the audience if they knew the percentage of matches he's won in his career. He told them 80%. And then the percentage of points won were 54. So you go, And his note, and I'll share mine, but his note on it was, hey, you have to have a lot of resilience. You have to lose. It's part of the experience. People are scared of losing. It hurts. It's painful. But he was like, even the greatest, from Tiger Woods to Federer to Michael Jordan, they lose and they put themselves in those positions such that they can win.
Paul, welcome to Cannes. Thank you for joining us.
So excited to be here with you, man.
I'm from Fortune, and we are interviewing a host of elite athletes and top execs about their mindset and leadership techniques and what they've learned from their success. We feel like there's a lot of similarities between what top sportsmen experience and how that can cross over into leadership and business. So we're fascinated to hear what you and the rest of the guys have got to say. So we'll start off with a fairly easy one, and that's what achievement you're most proud of in your career. Because you've achieved so much.
Yeah, I think when I hear this question, I've been really fortunate to play for great coaches alongside great teammates and win championships, internationally, pro, college, youth. But when I think about the moments I'm most proud of and the ones that were most formative for me, it was losing the championship games. Because every time I came off of something that felt insufferable was when I developed even more grit and thoughtfulness around my next process. And every time it led to an actual achievement, the one that you're sort of insinuating on, which is an MVP or that. So losing the college championship my senior year in college at Johns Hopkins at Syracuse in front of 55,000 fans live on ESPN, losing a world championship on behalf of Team USA to Team Canada on home soil in Denver in 2014, those were probably the most seminal games of my career.
And this point may not come for you, but when did you first consider yourself to be a success, if ever?
Well, I think what you'll find with a lot of athletes is that we have imposter syndrome. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs the same. And you have this level of work ethic and grit, and it's largely because you don't quite yet believe you've arrived. And I still feel that to this day. I'm also a huge admirer of the next generation of talent and my colleagues now and those that are even older than me still doing it. So I try not to look at anything what I do as measuring success. It's a journey. But yeah, a footnote is that I would be surprised if many of the athletes who came in here didn't have imposter syndrome.
You'd be right. They pretty much all say the same thing. And in terms of career-wise, whose career has inspired you and why? Whether that's in the sports field, whether that's in the business field or the entertainment field?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Jason Kelsey was just here. I really adore him, what he's been able to do as an athlete and now as an entertainer and spokesman. When I think about growing up, it was Michael Jordan. Just the competitive ferocity he brought to the floor was unmatched still to this day. I've never seen or been around a competitor like Michael. The people that I look to from a career standpoint, I think what John Cena's done as a professional wrestler, now actor. He's an activist in many ways. He speaks fluent Mandarin, super impressive. I think about someone like David Beckham, who has built so many different businesses and has done so many different things, now owning an MLS team on top of what he accomplished on the field. And then I would say Michael Strahan, someone who was like Jason, gritty lineman in the NFL, now host on GMA. Like that type of transition is not the norm. So super impressed by those guys.
I'm pleased you've got our man David Beckham in there.
Yeah, there you go. Were you a United fan just one of the own?
I'm English, so.
Okay, were you livid when he got red carded, or were you?
Yeah, I was part of the pack. Yeah.
You're part of the pack.
Yeah, but he's gone on to do great things, and we'll forgive him. And Jordan as well. I think Jordan surprised a lot of people. So even the people who weren't familiar with Jordan, or who were familiar with him but weren't quite familiar with why he was great. They saw the Bulls documentary, The Last Dance, and they were like, whoa, this guy is possessed.
Yeah.
Or he was anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a level even beyond the documentary. But I'm glad that 10-part series came back. I've probably watched it more than any other documentary. I think the storytellers, directors were really fantastic. But Michael he's driven, and he hates to lose. And that can also be really wearing. And there's a scene towards the end of episode 7 where he gets choked up, talking about essentially being a really tough teammate because he demanded more from what would have been probably closest friends. He sacrificed a lot of relationships for winning. And I don't think a lot of people want to do that. And no one's wrong. But Jordan was, without a doubt, for me, the best 6-time NBA champion. All 6 times was the finals MVP. And that just basically means he took over when it mattered most. Never lost a championship series. So it's amazing.
And in terms of your own personal journey, what are the fundamentals and the foundations that you have used yourself to build a level of success that you have?
Well, I would say this is where I've learned from launching the PLL with my brother and co-founder Mike. There's a discrepancy, and I think it's a challenge that athletes have when they transition. But because I launched it while I was playing, I got to bring what I'll share with you to the field, which was unique. But largely for athletes, you're embedded in work ethic and discipline and consistency, in camaraderie, teamwork, and all of those attributes make you a great business person or entertainer or whatever career choice you have. However, sports are binary. And so what drives the work ethic and discipline and consistency is that someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. And you have to do whatever you can to win, as Michael Jordan would say. In business and in life, compromise is the best action. So I like to frame it as competitive compromise. You're still taking those attributes that you had on the field that made you successful, but you're realizing that most of business is about deal making. And so if I'm cutting a deal with Fortune and I won the deal because I negotiated harder, guess what's probably going to happen? We're not going to renew the deal. And you're going to be pissed off or happy. And so in compromise, we each have to give a little to create something better, and both sides win. That doesn't happen in sports.
No, very true. Have you ever had any specific habits that you've performed throughout your career that have contributed to that success?
Yeah, I think athletes have to really be in touch with their mind and body. I was listening to Roger Federer's commencement speech at Dartmouth. Great. Yeah, and he asked the audience if they knew the percentage of matches he's won in his career. He told them 80%. And then the percentage of points won were 54. So you go, And his note, and I'll share mine, but his note on it was, hey, you have to have a lot of resilience. You have to lose. It's part of the experience. People are scared of losing. It hurts. It's painful. But he was like, even the greatest, from Tiger Woods to Federer to Michael Jordan, they lose and they put themselves in those positions such that they can win. The other thing that he didn't say, that I'll say for him, is he won the points that mattered. So if you're winning 80% of your matches and only 54% of the points, that means you're winning all of the critical ones, right? And that takes mindfulness. That takes a level of presence. That takes care of your body. A lot of sacrifice, not doing the stuff that others might care to do, especially when they reach a level of excellence and the world becomes available to them in ways that it wasn't when they were amateurs. So that's how I think about that.
That's really interesting. And have you ever had any business or career advice which has stood out to you that you would share with your kids or anyone who asked you for career advice in the future?
There's a lot, but what I would say for the purpose of this is encourage creativity. It's a value at the PLL, one of our 6. And when I think about encourage creativity, it's not only us from peer to peer and embracing all ideas. There's no bad ideas. But I found in my life thinking outside of the box, challenging the status quo, and manifesting whatever it is that you are challenging. Don't bring negative energy to the table. Don't second guess it. Widen your aperture, realize possibilities, but the answer is always outside the box.
And you've probably worked with lots of great leaders in your career and in your job now. What are the personality traits you think they've all got in common? Great leaders, that is.
I think the best leaders do the work. We say that often. We don't want to hire people who are directing traffic. We want to hire people who are building traffic lights. So that's hard because a lot of times as great executives move up, they begin to delegate more. And I get the balance because you have HR responsibilities, you're reporting into your CFO and structuring OKRs, and you're managing your team. So you have to be really efficient in how you're building one-on-ones and such. But there are many, many areas where I have seen talented executives stop doing the work. The other thing would be being empathetic. Empathy is a word that's often used. I've heard it here even in Cannes and a number of panels. But being an empathic and compassionate leader is one that people want to go to work for, especially when they see you doing the work.
Mm-hmm. Is there any advice that you wish you had at the start of your career that you know now?
It's a great question. And I'll be honest, the answer is no. And it's not because I had a ton of advice. I mean, in a lot of ways, we're doing stuff that people have never done in team sports in the model that we've built at the PLL. But the reason I say no is that life has its way about coming to you at the right time when you need it the most. And usually it's at a moment when you're in the most pain. And I fear that if I knew the answers when I was younger, that I wouldn't have felt the pain or those losses. Perhaps I would have. But learning it yourself is so valuable. So I when I think about regrets or when I think about advice or whatever, I don't have any.
That's fair. That's fair. And to end, what one decision could you make today that would have the most positive impact on your life going forward?
Continue to take breaks from time to time, breathe, stay on top of nutrition, fitness, continue man's search for meaning. Then that's a journey.
Paul, that's great.
Thank you, man.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.